All right, everybody. Welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs,
And I'm David Woldingen.
and we're wrapping up our series on the five storylines facing Mizzou football as fall camp begins. We're coming up on 1 week of camp being in the books, and we're going to talk about our final one, defensive tackle. Before we begin, please, guys, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Spotify. David, we are going to split this up, and we're being specific to D tackle. And we're not including defensive end or edge rushers because on the edge, Missouri has a not a ton that's proven, but so many guys that have so much potential that you almost feel like it's inevitable that one or two of them are going to have good years, and it could be a strength for Missouri, really.
Well, and the sheer depth they have on the edge is also a bonus this year. They could potentially rotate six guys in and out, which will help in the long run.
Yeah, Ja'Kai Lang transferred out, and that's a guy who in years past would be a devastating blow. And it was okay, well, that's a bummer. That's where Missouri's at this season with the edge. So it's not really a question, at least for us. So we're going to focus on D tackle. Uh, the biggest loss, one of your starters, David, Christian Williams, transferred from, I believe he transferred from Oregon to Missouri and was a big factor last year.
Yeah, and he didn't transfer out of Mizzou. He just exhausted his eligibility.
That's what, yeah, if I said transfer, yeah.
So, so Mizzou has to find someone to replace him, and it's going to be interesting as they brought in a few guys, and then you still have Chris McClellan, who potentially could be a monster on the line for us this year. It's going to be year two with us here in Columbia, so I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, the Florida transfer 6'4", 323, and yeah, he was a load, especially in the second half of the season. Having that full off season with the program, yeah, I think I've said it every one of these videos. Second season after the transfer seems to be a lot more comfort having that continuity. Big things are expected out of McClellan, but with Williams gone, it's all about that second starter and the depth to make sure that an offensive line can't say, okay, we're going to go ahead and double McClellan and dare that other D tackle who's no good to beat us. The second D tackle, who looks to be Sterling Webb, yeah, he needs to continue his development from nice role player, got meaningful minutes to take. He needs to take that next step.
Yeah, he had 18 tackles, a tackle for loss last season, a fumble recovery, and this is all in 13 games. Again, he wasn't a starter last year, but showed some real solid numbers when he was in there. So he has a potential to really take hold of that second starting spot.
Yeah, and it looks like he's been getting a lot of the reps so far as the second starter in fall camp. But a championship type team, yeah, it's all about that depth, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
And Missouri needs to be able to go 3 and 4 deep, and they would love to be able to go all the way down to 6 deep. You look at the depth chart, and gosh, you have, I think the first name that jumps off the page to you is Marquise Gracial, the redshirt junior out of St. Charles. He I think people are waiting for him to become that major factor. 4-star out of high school, local. It's now or never for him.
Yeah, and he's done a good job in the off season controlling the weight, hitting the weight room. I expect him to be a little more explosive and hopefully disruptive. One of the big issues for the line last year is they had a hard time getting to the quarterback, which
Yeah.
really hurt the secondary, in my opinion. So if they can disrupt in the middle, draw the attention there, and allow the ends to run free, that could be a huge, huge benefit. And that's where the depth comes in with this line. Um, so it's going to be real interesting to see how he progresses and if he developed a lot over the break and if he can turn that into game time action and just be a big problem for other teams.
You talked about uh, Gracial and really all the D tackles being able to get pressure. You think of the edge rushers, like we talked about at the beginning, being the ones to generate pressure. If your edge rushers are getting close, but your D tackles aren't doing anything, a quarterback can just step up in the pocket and all that pressure is gone and behind him, and
Hmm.
he's got himself a lot of time all of a sudden. So that's why it's incumbent on these D tackles to be able to get some good push and at least move that pocket backwards or just make a mess of it so it's not a pure pocket. So that if a quarterback steps up, he's got Graciel or McClellan or whoever right in his face and he's got no choice but to scramble. So that's why a D tackle needs to be able to get pressure. It's not as much the sacks, although yes, you want anyone to get a sack, but you don't want a pure pocket to be able to get formed as your edge rushers come from the outside.
Well, and if your D line can force double teams in the middle, it really allows your DNs to roam free on the outside. At the same
Yep.
time, you're also clogging all the holes, stopping any running lanes or any chance for a running back to get anywhere too. So it's very important to at least go four deep in the D line, hopefully six, just because you're going to need all that energy and talent in there to maintain what you're trying to do.
Yeah, the fourth name, trying to go four deep. The fourth name, Jalen Marshall, redshirt junior from Overland Park, 6'4", 335. Again, similar to Graciel, you're just waiting for that next step where he becomes a real factor. And again, like Graciel, kind of now or never.
Yeah, and then another player that I'm really interested to see how he fits into the mix is a transfer from Ohio,
Oh,
Braylon Henderson.
yeah.
And we'll see how he fits into this too. He could be either your fifth depth piece, or he could work his way up as a backup or even a potential starter spot, if you will, depending on how he comes into camp. Um, but the big thing here is by bringing all these guys in and trying to get more depth, you also breed more competition, and that's when you get someone who can really take off.
Yeah, I think Henderson, with his experience as a grad transfer, he has a chance to get some reps. I'm excited to see what Justin Bodford can do. I think he had to do a little bit of kind of growing up physically, kind of changing his body to be more of a lean 300 pounds, as lean as a D tackle can get in the SEC, and make it a stronger weight. Doing that, I think there's a high ceiling there. I think having a year in the SEC in the program can make a difference for him. I'm excited for what he might be able to do as a fifth or sixth type D tackle. But, all these guys, someone, whether it's Webb or Bodford or anybody in between, I think somebody has to step up and be that second guy along with McClellan because if you have both of them on the field for meaningful stop plays, that's huge. And if you got two guys who are really a handful, then you can substitute, and you've always got at least one guy where the offensive line is saying, "Ah, crap, this all right, we got to count for him."
Well, and you could have a couple of different types of tackles as well.
Yeah.
Run stopper type, clog the middle type D lineman, and then you can go with the speedy guys who can maybe have a shot at the quarterback. So if it's a third and long, you throw in the guys who you might want to rush the quarterback. And then if it's a running down, you're going to throw the guys who can do whatever they need to clog up that line so they can't get a yard or two. So having all of these guys develop and then having different styles that you can just throw in waves at the offensive line is going to be key to the success this season.
And to your point, looking at the depth chart here, McClellan at 6'4", 323. There's your make a mess of the line of scrimmage, clog it up the
Mhm.
line, and blow up the run game type of D tackle. Next to him, we talked about Webb, probably your leading candidate to be the second starter, 6'1", 285. Well, leaner, perhaps quicker, although McClellan is quick for his size, let's make no mistake. You might have that contrast with those two. So if Webb, and I think that's the hope, is that Webb can become that really second solid option to just be an alternative to McClellan, but also a complement in that they do play kind of different styles.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see how this all pans out. And those first two games are going to be key, in my opinion, just to see what the D line, how the D line will take shape for the rest of the season. I know the first game you won't see much, but going into Kansas, I'm sure they're going to throw whatever they can at Kansas just to make a statement, if you will, since it's a
Oh yeah.
rivalry game. Since it's a rivalry game, and they're 2 games later, they open up with South Carolina, so they're trying to get ready for SEC play to make that run if they can. But it's going to be real fun to see how they develop and see where the camp takes them this fall. And in the meantime, we'll keep you guys updated with all things Mizzou. So as always, thank you for watching Under the Arch Sports.